It is Thang and welcome to this guide video. So today we're going to be talking about this cute little Aglaonema Pictum Tricolor, which I have in my hand. I've had it for about 5 months now, and it is a super easy plant to take care of, easy plant to propagate, and also an easy plant to revive if you ever get one in that's like almost dead. Anyway, so a little backstory about this plant is that I got this in mid-March when I first started my pre-orders again in 2020, and this is one of the most highly requested plants of tropical plant, and it's also my very first tropical plant, and it's super easy to take care of. So I'm going to show you how to take care of that. Okay, you guys, so this is my Pictum Tricolor right here. Let's talk a little bit about the plant itself. It is a tropical plant, so it prefers the more warm and humid, moist type of environment, but that's not always true depending on what medium you have it in. So a lot of the time, you'll find the leaf itself to be like this, or you'll find the leaf itself to be like this, where it's more camouflage type of pattern. It's just all random, so don't get disappointed if you get one that's like this. It'll just slowly become that later on. It's not a problem. Sometimes the leaf itself is a little bit lighter, sometimes it's a little bit darker. It's just random, not a problem itself. So these are spring summer grower. Like I said, they prefer the warmer temperatures for it to grow faster. These are also low light plants, so they don't require the full exposure of the sun or direct sunlight or anything like that. You can use an artificial lighting system and it's perfectly fine for it to be there all day long, not a problem. Or you can leave this into any single room that has light. It's perfectly fine. But the less light that it has, the slower it'll grow, because you know it can't do photosynthesis, right? Or it can't do a lot of photosynthesis, so it'll grow slower. The more light it has, it'll grow faster. Okay, so let's talk about mediums. Which medium is the best for these ones? You can have 3 different types of mediums. The first best one for beginners or anybody who's starting out and wanting these plants and not killing them is water. Water is probably your best bet for keeping this alive and being like, oh my god, I got this alive. Not a problem. The best one is water, because with water itself, the roots is always drinking that water, so that it's always feeding water into its leaf, into its stem, cane right here, so you're not losing any moisture for the plant. So it'll always be firm and hard, and that way you can leave it into any room you wanted to, even a dry room like mine. My room is pretty dry. It has the AC on, so it's pretty much cold and a little dry, and it's still doing perfectly fine. So water would be best for anybody who's a beginner, but with water you actually have to feed with some plant food over time. So any plant food is fine. I use cactus and succulent plant food, and it's perfectly fine for it. The next soil medium is this right here, so you can put it into a mossy type of medium. I have it into half cocoa and half orchid moss or sphagnum moss, whichever one you want to call, and I actually add slow release fertilizer in it. This is a great medium for those of you who are intermediate, who are like, oh my god, it's alive in water, so I just want to move it over here. The great thing about this is that it is very aerated. That means that there's oxygen moving in and out of there's lots of oxygen circulating or moving into it, so that's not being crushed by the soil medium itself. The roots are not being crushed by the soil medium, and you can see how beautiful the roots are. You can see that? Yeah, how beautiful the roots have become. Very, very nice. And also the medium itself is always moist. Oh, that word, moist. Yeah, it's always moist, so you don't have to worry about watering it as often. So I usually water this probably once a week or once every 2 weeks, and I don't have to worry about it that often. It never goes limp or never goes flaccid, and it's always constantly looking nice. So with this, you also have to add slowly release fertilizer as well, just to feed it some food, some nitrogen, potassium, and phosphate. So this is a great medium for intermediate. especially if you're going on vacation. for a long period of time, and you don't want your plant to die because you're not there to water it. Okay. The last one is of course dirt soil, and unfortunately with dirt soil is that you actually have to get one that retains a lot of moisture. So potting mix would be fine, but with potting mix you'll have to add in like perlite or a lot of perlite, so that way it doesn't when you water it or when it starts compacting, it doesn't crush the roots. So you have to add in perlite or pumice, so that way it helps to aerate the roots itself. But with like dirt soil medium, I find that you actually have to water it more often because it dries more often. So that might be your downfall with soil medium. And I always find that with soil medium, there's more of the organic pests that happens with them. So that's why I've moved away from soil medium and more into sphagnum moss and cocoa coir mix, right? But with the soil medium, you actually have to leave your plant into a more area that is more humid, has a lot of more moisture, because I find that a lot of people who have them into soil medium put them into like a dry room like mine, the leaves actually just becomes flaccid. So that is pretty much what you have to do. So you can choose one of three. Water is the best. Sphagnum moss is in between soil and water, and then there's soil. Okay, that's done. Let's put this back in, and let's talk about sunlight. These are low light plants, so they don't actually require a lot of sunlight, especially pure direct sunlight. The more pure direct sunlight it gets, the more flaccid it becomes because it's too hot for it. I find that even with my south-facing window, it gets sunlight for about 7 hours, 6-7 hours, and this is what happens when you have it into even indirect sunlight. It's just a lot of sunlight. This is called pigment burnout right here. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? It's a little yellowish. It's not disease or anything. It's just pigment burnout. Too much sun, too much heat. So it'll just burn out like this. But what's great about leaving it into the sun that I have it in is that it photosynthesizes a lot faster, so you get new growth a lot easier. But that's up to you. I would recommend that you have it in a north or east facing window. If you do have it into a south and west facing window, make sure that it is behind another plant or it's getting peekaboo type of like sunlight. So it'll get like sunlight here, sunlight there for an hour or two, and then the next hour it doesn't, and then the next 2 hours to get a little bit more sunlight. That's what I would recommend. Artificial light is fine because it doesn't produce that much heat. It shouldn't be producing that much heat anyways. So you can put it into artificial light, perfectly fine. You can put it into a room that has low light, it's fine as well, but once you have low light, it just grows a lot slower. That's pretty much it. For propagation, it's super easy. See how long this cane is or stem is? Make sure that if you do propagate, make sure you have a long, nice section like this. This is about, I think, 3-4 inches. 3-4 inches of the stem itself. Make sure you have nodes right here. So you can see the nodes. Make sure you have nodes. Like about this much would be fine. You just leave it in water and make sure, and it'll just grow roots. And about 4 or 5 months later, you have a tiny little baby right here. Tiny little baby. It's super easy to propagate, and that's all you do for propagation. Okay, let's go into my room and I'll show you where this usually sits, and you'll be fascinated by how it still survives. See how nice it just grows in like that. That's it. I've watered this. I think last time I watered this was on last Friday, actually. Yes, last Friday, and today is Thursday. So it's still very, very moist and damp. All right, so let's go. Okay, so welcome to my room, and this is where I usually have my Pictum Tricolor right here. And as you can see, it does get peekaboo sun. Peekaboo sun is when it's shattered. The sun is shattered, so it's not always hitting the leaf or the plant itself. You get like a little bit here, a little bit there, and it's just a little bit, right? So this is peekaboo or shattered sun. this is really great if you're looking for your plants to grow faster, because low light doesn't allow the plant to get that much energy, so it can't convert it into sugar, can't really photosynthesize that energy into sugar as much, so it won't grow as much, right? So I have it here, so that way it can peekaboo sun, and that's all I do. Usually sometimes I put it up here if I feel like I want to be crazy one day, and where it's right here, it actually gets a lot of sun during the day. It gets about 7 hours of sun when the sun hits. I think 7 hours of sun, which is a lot. And what ends up happening, like I mentioned before, is you get these pigment burnout, yellowish. And that's not what you want, right? You want like this, see? Peekaboo sun. Peekaboo sun. And this, it will tolerate pretty much all day long. And I don't need to water it every single day. I don't actually come and spray it with misting water or anything like that. Every single day, I just water at least once a week. Well, if I see this drying out, I just water it right away. And it's right next beside the AC machine. So with the AC machine, the AC actually takes out a lot of moisture in the room. That's how it cools the room. It tries to suck out all the moisture so it can cool the room. So my room is actually pretty much dry and cold. But it's doing great in this window. So that's all I do with my Pictum Tricolor. I have it in this medium, which is always moisture, and it's looking great. Anyways, that is all for the video. Let me know if you have any questions. If you do, comment down below and I'll try my best to reply to them. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to press like and subscribe. Like and subscribe, you guys. And I'll see you. Love you. Bye.